Ladies and gentlemen, aliens, everyone around this wonderful, beautiful world that is winning in fantasy football today, beating the absolute, utter, you know what, out of clowns, welcome into the Hunter Houston ESG podcast. And as always, I am your host, T to the D to the C, Texas Departments of Corrections, T Diddy, uh, the T Dog, Hunter Houston himself, whatever you want to call me, that guy, or, whatever. I don't care. So let's get into it. And shout out to the PlayStation Ain't Dead podcast, acting like they're Guns N' Roses, showing up whenever the hell they feel like it. Uh, it's kind of lame, dude. Especially like when you're tired because you went to the gym, like, and you really put in a good workout, and you're like, "Oh, I would like to listen to a podcast with my friends on it." Oh, well, we're gonna make you wait because we're a bunch of rock stars and clowns, basically clowns of rock stars. So from now on, Will is Axel. Uh, Sean is, of course, Slash. Um, James is Duffy, and I guess Radical Reggie's just Radical Reggie. And then they had another guy on. I can't think of his name. He's a big Nintendo guy. I will talk about Nintendo and how super lame it is, and just if look, we'll get into that later on. Now, let's get on to the main thing that I put in the little topic opener here. That's probably the most important, which is Grand Theft Auto. Shockingly enough, Grand Theft Auto. I know. I said it wouldn't be delayed again. Psych! I didn't say that. I knew it was going to be delayed numerous times. It was going to be delayed so many different times. It was going to be crazy. Now, I think, and I honestly believe this. I've said this once on the show before, a couple like a year or so ago with Buggy K. Shout out to Buggy K, uh, longtime contributor to the show. Hope that she'll be back on again. I know I've received some emails, especially from this one particular person. Look, Obi-Wan Kenobi's nightstick. Uh, I appreciate the emails, but she might be back on again. It's up to her. She's a busy young woman and has a bustering career ahead of her. So let her do her thing. And shout out to Buggy K. But we did a Grand Theft Auto episode. Y'all want to hunt down with me and her top cover and talking about it, and me saying what I said. Then I'm going to reiterate now is that Grand Theft Auto 6, I don't think will come out this year, next year, or may not come out for a few more years. If they're continuing to make money hand over fist over Grand Theft Auto 5, and they're remastering Red, Red Dead, or basically updating the graphics. Well, this is Red Dead 2, by the way. Updating the graphics for PS5 or enhanced graphics for PS5. I'm like, it looks pretty doggone good for a PS4 game, but I digress. I think the reason why they're doing all that, and let's go over here and take a little look, is that a certain gentleman who is a co-founder, and you see how I put right here, uh, no, GTA president did not say that Rockstar co-founder Dan Houser stated in October, which he did, regardless of what people want to say, he did say it. See, throwback, see, thank you, Reddit, to when Dan Houser insinuated he wouldn't, release Grand Theft Auto 6 as long as Donald Trump is president. Now, there are different articles, different things of what he said and what he felt to that time and contents, and you can see it here on the screen. More or less, he's saying, yeah, we don't want to release it while he's president in case there's an issue or a problem. And let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, the average person sitting in some form of political, whatever form of power or trying to get into power, knows nothing about game, does not care about gamers. And if gamers were smart that live in the state of California, you'd be voting against these people because numerous times they've tried to take away your rights to own certain games or to have certain games, especially in California, especially the guys who. This is like when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out, or it's one of them ones. I think it might not even been San Andreas, and he basically threw a big fit. And later on, he was basically caught on corruption charges. I think he was like near San Francisco, near Chinatown. He's one of their representatives. And long story short, allegedly, by the way, they could have changed that and changed his status. But yeah, so these are clowns who don't know what's going on in the gaming industry, but yet, they want to talk stuff about the games. This is both political parties. I think only maybe like independents such as myself or libertarians are up on the gaming scene that play COD, play all these, different varieties of games. But so and say, why did he said it? Okay. Or so why he said it. He felt that the events intensifies both liberal and conservatives were views beyond satire that would be outdated quickly. No, 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 no. Translation is that this was during the whole super cancel culture bullcrap with 2018, but he didn't want to release it during. I guarantee it's not because he didn't want to release it. It's because they did so many story changes here and there, and they felt like, well, maybe this won't make us the money that we think it's going to make it. And again, you're making money hand over fist. But if GTA 6 comes out while Trump is president, I'd be very shocked. He might actually give an executive order to put the game out. I'm commanding people to put, you know, that, I mean, that'll get somebody some votes, not him, because, he can't be elected again, regardless of how much he wants to troll people saying that, he's thinking of running for a third term. You can't do it. If anything, you need to have the Congress and Senate vote to get them out of lifelong termships because they're nothing more than sellouts and selling out the country. But that's another story for a different show that I don't do. So let's move on and move forward onto basically, talking about why maybe another reason why Grand Theft Auto rather than the hatred of the current person who resides in the White House. Another reason is they keep saying polish. They're going to polish. They're going to polish this. Okay, I think the real reason is the multiplayer's not ready yet, and you can put the multiplayer out same day. Now, some games like Ghost of Tsushima or Ghost of Yute release the game, couple of months later, release the multiplayer. Um, and that's sometimes just to polish the multiplayer. Sometimes it's just so people can play the game, play the single story player game and enjoy the story player game. Then there's people who lie openly, and I'm surprised there's no class action lawsuit, man, because they did lie openly about like, oh yeah, there's going to be multiplayer for Last of Us 2. There was never really a promise of Last of Us, on the remake one they did for the PS5, they built from the ground up of multiplayer. They said, oh, we're working on a single player multiplayer game. That's totally different from when The Last of Us 2 said, oh, well, we're working on a multiplayer game for it, but we don't know when it's going to come out, maybe in October or November. And the whole hopes was, and no, we all thought it was going to come with the game. At least I did, or else I wouldn't have pre-ordered and bought the game, for Last of Us 2. I'd be like, nah, I'm good, homie. But yeah, actually, I don't think I pre-ordered that game. I think I got it cheap, uh, and waited. I gameflied it, and then I waited and played it. So I don't want to lie to people out here. I'm like, oh yeah, I bought it. No, because because of all the stuff that was put out that ended up being true, and everybody's like, oh, that's not. No, that's what happened. But long story short, I think for GTA 6, what they're trying to do is they're trying their hardest to get the multiplayer out because you gotta understand they're making so much money. I think last year they made like almost $1 billion or close to it for GTA, shark money and everything they're doing for all the different multiple platforms. So they're making a ton of money. So why would you give up the golden goose just for a single player experience? Because there's a lot of people who are not looking for that single player story mode experience. Some people just want to jump into the multiplayer, jump into the world of Miami, of basically Florida or South Florida onto itself. So those things are very, very much what they're thinking about and don't think their shareholders don't have some type of hand into this as well. And they know they're going to make their money. They don't care how long they wait, and then they're going to see what the market's doing, what's going on. What can they get away with? That's what's all about at the end of the day. And then who are you going against at that point? COD? No one. If you had to choose between COD and you had to choose between GTA 6, most people are going to be like, I'm gonna take that GTA 6 online multiplayer because who knows? They might add like a really good first person view. I mean, they already have the first person view from 5 that you can use. So what if they even correct some of those problems, get it where it's almost like a Call of Duty, add in like a zombie mode, all these other different modes, and make it an all in one game. So you have a little bit of everything that you can play in their multiplayer zone, and of course, they could charge you 150 to 125 and it says, "Oh, you want this mode? Well, if you want this mode, you got to buy the 125 version," or so forth, so on. So don't think they hadn't had enough time to think this out. They've had since 2013, to think this out. They've been working on this game for quite a long time. Graphic wise, sure, they may have updated the graphics here and there, but the story's kind of been set in place. You can change things about the story, you can add on to the story. There's many different ways you can do. But are they going to make money hand over fist? Absolutely. So it is what it is. The good news is that other games can basically work themselves out before, come out before that time. So it's like, hey, November's coming. Let's try to release our game 2 months beforehand or a month beforehand. And because you don't want to get hit with GTA marketing. That's the whole thing, is once they start marketing to the general public on like all the different platforms, people are going to say, I got to save my money for GTA. I can't buy your game. Even though your game is awesome and cool. So you want to basically plan to be 2 months out before they release it. And heaven forbid if they release like some type of online beta player demo or something like that, which may even spook even more people to release their games quicker or hold their games off for the following year. But don't think people aren't thinking about those things. And then of course, okay, you waited that long. Let's release a different system. So let's say have a GTA style system, with 8 terabytes in the game, or make it to where the system can hold 12 terabytes of SSD, which would be super awesome because it's like they only unlock so much. And they do this stuff because they're lame and super lame and just lame. So here's hoping that it does come out 2026, but I doubt it. I doubt it unless they really unless everybody stops spending money and stops playing GTA 5, the best thing everyone could do is stop playing any Rockstar game. Seriously, don't buy it. Don't buy any of the hang on merchandising. Then they'll be forced to release it. But we got a bunch of people who don't have that kind of common sense, so I don't expect that to happen. All right, so let's move on. Before I move on to another story, what am I currently playing? Of course, I just mentioned Ghost of Yute. I'm playing that. I'm playing My University Teacher. It's cheap. It's only like all the My Universe games are on sale. So if you have little ones and you want them to have something that's a learning and fun game, get the My Universe games. They have the My Universe like Teacher, the My Universe like Doctor, all this other stuff. Get those types of games, man. If you got little ones, you want to, have them do something educational. That's what I always try to do. You trick them. You're like, here's a game. It's an educational game. Ha ha! And of course, I'm playing Infinity Nikki, waiting on the new update for that. Been saving up all my crystals for some real outfits rather than these lame ones they released recently. I have complained on Twitter to them, and they probably said, "Who is this clown complaining to me? Why do I care? What is his gamer tag so we can ban him from playing this game?" Like, dude, I have spent hundreds of dollars in your game. Please don't ban me. But no, that of course, Madden and winning in fantasy football. Um, those type of things. So, that is currently what I'm playing. Oh, and I am trying to play Silent Hill 2, the remake, or the HD remake that they came out with. That's one of the horror games. I didn't really buy any horror games because they had a bunch of horror games that were free during Halloween time for PlayStation. But you got to play those your young ones aren't around because you don't want to have them. I don't even know if I even want to play those games anymore. Exposing yourself to those types of things, it's not probably good, and especially as psychological as Silent Hill 2 is. So maybe I should stop playing that and don't. I'm over here supporting it like a clown. So there we go. So probably not play that. Now, let's move on to our next story. And this is to talk to Sean Powers from the PlayStation 8 Dead podcast, who is thinking of getting one of these things. And look, man, don't be one of these people who's like, I have to get a Nintendo because everybody else has a Nintendo Switch. No, you don't have to get a Nintendo Switch because everybody and their mama has one. Look, you could be lame in different ways. Saying that you can afford one of these horrible handhelds doesn't mean you're cool. It means you're lame. And then you're not even buying any new games. What games are you buying? Everything is like an updated version from a Wii U game. Let's think about it. almost or from a Switch game, but most of them are Wii U games that are getting updated for like the third or fourth time. Congratulations, you are a sucker. Now, note they plan to sell to 19 million units before the physical year of March 2026, which is insane. All I can tell you is young parents or parents in general, do not buy this for your child. If you want them to have a good handheld, buy a Steam Deck. I am not paid by Steam Deck. I am not endorsed by Steam Deck. I do not own a Steam Deck, even though I would like one. Steam, if anybody from the Steam area is watching this or Val, send me a Steam Deck. You ain't. I'm doing the free work for you. And I'm sure lots of other people are. There is no reason to own a Switch 2. Seriously, there really isn't. There's not one single game that really stands out that's like amazing. And what the Donkey Kong game, which is basically a ripoff of Mario Galaxy in a way, but with Donkey Kong. Ooh. And then what Will from PlayStation Ain't Dead, or should I say Axel Rose from PlayStation Ain't Dead podcast said last night, like Mario Kart at 8.1 or 8.2. So yeah, so to me, this is not worth buying. This system, I'm sorry, and then you don't even own the games. You do not own any physical games. So in other words, let's say for the sake of argument, you say something, I don't know, you're Joe Blow, and you have a podcast and you own one of these things, and they just happen to know your gamer tag or just check your IP address and like, oh, this is so and so. Well, they could just turn off my system. My system never work again. All my games are worthless. All the all the games are, and I believe all the games are attached to the system because it's a key card thing because you don't own your games. So it's lame and it's just another form of control. Now, if you want to be control, not own anything, you might as well call them daddy government for crying out loud. Thank you, daddy Nintendo government. You're so awesome and cool, but you're not. You're lame. Super lame. Sorry, I'm saving certain words for later because it'll make sense and it'll be funnier then, if you don't use them now. But yes, I don't understand the logic behind wanting to own a Switch 2 when there's no game that tells me, look, you bring out Kid Icarus, you bring out like some old school stuff in a new and cool way, but you're only bringing over games from like the Wii U, the Switch. And it's like, hey, guess what? This is a game you already played. But guess what we added to the game? We added a map. Remember there wasn't no map and you could just kind of roam around? Yeah. Well, guess what? Now there's a map to tell you where to go. Oh, you didn't have a map before, but now you have a map and all these little extras because we was too lazy to put in the other one because the constraints are probably the other system and like we couldn't really put those things in allegedly, but now we can. So yeah, that's one of those little fun things. All right, let's but yes, Sean, don't sell out and get one of these crap ass systems. You're better than that. You're better